this morning? I mean, when you're not talking to me, what's a regular Monday morning like for you?
Well, I actually just dropped off my kids at school, and normally I go straight to work, which is I'm working at I've sort of started a company with a friend of mine, Michael Herman, and my dad, and we're doing it's called reverberation, and it's all around the idea of music and the power it has on your brain. So we're doing several projects involved and some studies and TV show, podcast, etc. So
Very nice. I'm going to be dropping my daughter off in about an hour and a half. So there we go, off to school. I'm always interested when creative people say they go to work, because and I don't mean that in a negative way, because it's always different for every single person.
Right.
I would imagine. So I mean, is it pretty 9 to 5? Except it's not. We're not punching a desk job, so to speak. It's a little.
Well,
more...
I call it 9 to 5 because actually I go to an office and I sit at a desk from 9 to 5. So
yeah, exactly. Great. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah,
yes.
Google Share Space. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, we'll just jump right into ID and away we go. I guess early on, I mean, are there any photographers specifically, or I guess filmmakers in your case that do inspire you that people may not know or are not related to anything of your past? For example.
Yeah, I mean, I had several photographers. Gosh, I'm trying to think now off the top of my head. My mind is going completely blank on these two photographers that I love. Oh my goodness. Well, Sally Mann is a favorite. I loved her work with her kids. I think it's beautiful stuff that she does. I kind of love things that are sort of a bit more unusual, abstract. I love sort of painters like Howard Hodgkin and sort of also people who layer things. Like I love sort of layered art in different formats. Like I personally love to do photography and painting together and kind of layer things up. So yeah, so any of the sort of more, I guess, more abstract artists I'm usually into.
One thing that struck me is, and certainly I've been shooting myself for about 25 years, is it reminded your work, especially the stuff in this work, reminded me of another Brooklyn photographer that people forget, and he's Brooklyn, and Stanley Kubrick. We're very much focused on the hair, on the crosshairs and the eyes as well.
No, absolutely. No, Kubrick's amazing. Sure.
So going back to this, I mean, obviously the PR on this, as far as the promotional activity and that, saves a lot of questions I would ask you because they're answered in some of the robust business. But why did they scrap the idea of doing these as the initial idea was the insert for this in Scratch My Back and I'll Scratch Yours? Why did they not go with that idea?
They did go with it. They did. It's used in the Yes.
So am I missing where? Because I'm sure I own both. Well, I know I own both albums, even though they're
the inside the album insert. So if you take the cover out and look inside, it's all the photos. So you'll see them there.
And is that in the CD as well, or just the vinyl?
In the CD, yes.
Oh, I have to pull it out now and take a look. Okay.
Yeah, it's the Scratch My Back. It's the cover is a weird, like a pointy thing.
Close up.
It's an abstract shape. And it's a point. And that's the cover of the CD, and then inside, when you'll see the different eyes.
Well, we'll have to take a look again there, because that's amazing. Because I thought, geez, I don't remember seeing Justin Vernon or anybody in the.
Well, they're in there somewhere. If it's not one, it's the other. Right. I always forget to Scratch My Back and I'll Scratch Yours.
No, exactly right, and everything surrounding that creative area or period of his time. So I mean, and it brings it up. I mean, some of the subjects of these specific the 50 odd photos you have in here. And I'm speaking for myself as well, but I mean, some of these people have had their photo taken more than you and I'll ever take photos in our lives, just by virtue of who they are, and some of them, by virtue of their careers. Did they have any input as far as the right side's better than the left? As far as, and I don't mean the eyes, but I mean just this is the side this is the side
Some people did, but most I'd say 90% of them were all kind of like, oh, just do what you want, and very adaptable to whatever I was telling them to do or exploring with them. So I mean, most of them, it was just a few sort of 15-20 minutes in their apartment or hotel room or wherever, and so it was very quick and easy. So they found, they were sort of, I finished the shoot and they go, oh my God, that's it, like that's how amazing. Like I don't have to, it's not hours on end of doing a photo
well, it's not
shoot.
like you roll up on the edge and there he is setting up lights for you and waiting for you to there, away we go.
I think they were happy that it was an easy shoot for most.
Oh, and I'd imagine it would have, and again, knowing some of these people's background, it would have been one of the easier ones they've had, I would wager as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and I mentioned this a little bit, that some of them, obviously all of them are experiences having their photo taken, but some of them are very photogenic people. I mean, I know the eyes are the focus, but are they all headshots and then cropped in some cases, or are you?
No, I'm pretty much, I'm getting in on them. A couple of them I cropped in, and some of them I would like slightly, I would change, obviously I changed the shape because they're square format and originally they're not square format. So I definitely cropped them, but I would often just be shooting their eye. So it wasn't, also, for them, like I didn't want, as to make it easy as possible, like if they sort of thought they were having their whole headshot done, they would want to do their hair, do their makeup, and etc. So I was like, no, this is just your eye and I'm coming in close. So,
and for that matter, did anybody do any eye makeup, for lack of a better, did they
what, I don't think, other than probably the natural makeup they wear in the day, anyone ever did anything. There was one, Michael Stipe put on gold eyeliner, which I love. But he did it very specifically. He would like randomly was like, oh no, I need some gold eyeliner for this. This is good. And then unfortunately, it was because it's black and white, you can't really tell. But that was, he was the only one that actually put something on.
Well, and that brings up a question. What was the decision to go black and white as opposed to full color, so to speak?
Yeah, well, I kind of went back and forth with it, and I sort of decided that because I love color photography, I mean, I started in black and white and then I went to color. But I thought that, the first thing everyone says about your eyes is, what color are your eyes? It's the first thing everyone says, are they green, blue, etc. So I wanted to sort of take that away, because it's a sort of and then you kind of have to look more at the emotion of what the person's expressing through their eye, rather than, oh, they've got blue eyes, because it's the first thing you'd look at and think about. So I wanted to kind of remove that from the equation, which is why I went with black and white.
And well, and that being said, are they all shot in black and white and on film, or are some are shot color and then you obviously the power?
They're all shot color digital. So
color digital, and on the same camera as well, or did you?
Yeah, I have a Canon 7D that I use.
Well, that's pretty. I mean, that just knowing, Lord, the cameras I go through over the gestation of this project, that's pretty neat that you're able to.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. Yeah, no, it was good that actually, I'm considering changing cameras actually at this point.
Well, no, like Lord knows I have a couple, but that's good that everything was captured on the one machine, as opposed to, okay, we had to piecemeal it, or we had to pull up the phone for one of them because the battery died on something. But very nice, very nice.
Yeah.
So I know, I mean, there's always reasons for, okay, like in this case, you were doing the other thing, and then, okay, we got 50 odd, let's put out a book. What was the reason to stop now, as opposed to get to 100, or stop it at 40 and publish it a couple of years ago? What was the reason over the last year or so?
It's a good question, because I think I'd just gotten to the point where because I've been waiting for people to that a lot of people were busy on tour, with films, whatever it was. And so it was a really long process to actually get the schedule. The scheduling was the hardest part of the whole project. And there were a few people that still were busy, and I hadn't been able to schedule, and I kept going back to them. And I sort of just got to a point where I was like, I'm not going to bother these people anymore, and I've got to let it go. And so I just decided to stop. But I think I'd also gotten to 52, sort of felt, I said, well, I think I actually got to 54, but I was thinking about these, playing card decks or weeks in the year, or all those kind of numbers. So I just thought I should just stop now, even though I could have carried on there. But maybe part 2 will happen.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. I mean, that does just lead to other things. I mean, is there a part 2 as far as specifically ID, or is there, another book of photos you're looking at that may not be of people, or just of different? I know, we were talking about different body parts. I think you interviewed you as well. He was talking about that, but is that something that you're working on as well? And, creative
I
people
am
have many things on the go, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, I'm actually trying, I have an idea for a new project I want to do. It's more abstract. It's kind of more going back to my original style, which is, as I said earlier, was sort of more painting and photography
Okay.
combined. So I'm hoping to go back to that, and I've got a project in mind. And I'm just trying to find the time to get to test it out. So
Right.
see. But hopefully that'll be soon.
Well, and not to dwell on your last name and famous relatives, so to speak, because you have a few. Some of the films you've done are, and again, this is no slight. They're coming up on 20 years old. Some of that's related to your father's touring cycle when it relates to original material. But what did you learn on some of those earlier projects where all of a sudden you're helming, sometimes a music video, sometimes a live shoot for, an international artist. What did you learn? What did you learn with those particular projects growing up?
Well,
And how's that added to your day?
yeah, I mean, well, I've loved being able to work with Dad. I mean, I think it's really nice to be able to work with your family, no matter who you are.
Yeah.
Especially if you're close. And then with my sister singing with him on tour, it was like both tour projects that I've done with him has been fun because it's sort of been the three, the family together, which is nice. And it's always kind of, you get that kind of intimacy knowing, having it be your family. And I think there's a different way that you look at them, than the general public. So it's a nice kind of, way to work. So I've always enjoyed doing stuff with Dad. I think, it's the videos, father-son video is one of my favorites that I've done with him. I love that. And but also obviously it's very obviously family and about the three generations of them, but just sort of seeing them interact together, his father and his son and him, was lovely. And I sort of wanted to do that on Super 8 to create that family footage vibe. And then the concert footage and the growing up on tour were all fun. And I think I learned, I mean, what's nice about also working with Dad is that I kind of get to the freedom to experiment a bit. And there's not so much pressure of working for someone you don't know and having to get it perfectly right for them and what they want. So you get a bit more freedom with when it's your family and when it's your dad. And he's very open to my ideas and he's very easy to work with in that respect. So it's like it's nice. It gives me a bit of a playground and learning place too. I can experiment things and actually learn and sort of go further with different techniques.
Well, and growing up, I mean, I imagine that is part of it. I mean, certainly of the MTV era where, he is in front of the camera more than just singing sometimes. That must have been an influence to what you're doing now. And obviously your sister as well, taking that other side of the creative coin, so to speak. But that must have been, I would imagine, even if not a spoken interest or spoken influence, certainly something unspoken.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think, Dad's, what's interesting, well, me, my dad, my sister, and I think my mom too, we all have a really similar creative sensibility. Like we all like the same art and have the same mindset on things, and the colors are very powerful for us. So he's definitely been an influence for me in terms of his creative sensibility. And it's fun to be able to talk to him and brainstorm about projects and do stuff because we are so similar and alike. But I think, I mean, he's always been experimental and into exploring new forms, tech and art and different ways to look at things. So, and thinking outside the box, which I think has been a great influence on me and my sister. So.
Well, and that ability, some of it's not in his control, but where he can wear different hats, where people can see him now on tour if he's with Sting or somebody, and then they don't even realize he was in a band, and that's just because sometimes of their age, right? And you look at them like they're French, but and then just on that one last note before we get off, the Peter Gabriel train, was there any chance that this was going to be called In Your Eyes or anything too close to that? Or
I know people mention that, but I never sort of thought about it actually. Obviously there's the relation. I thought about maybe using the song for something, but I haven't done yet.
Well, I mean, ID hits close enough to the family tree, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly.
So
interesting.
on that note with Brooklyn, is that a creative choice as far as where you live, or just literally the 9 to 5 and family life keeps you there? Not keeps you there, but
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Well, it sort of does keep me here because I wouldn't mind moving back to England, I think. But I've been here, God, 30 years now. So it's
Oh, is that
really
right? Okay. Wow.
it's really my home at the moment. I mean, I moved out to the States when I was 18 to go to college, and so I've been here ever since.
Never left.
Much to my
Oh,
family's dismay and trying to get me home, I sort of did end up staying. And then now with the kids in school, everything gets trickier. But I think, being closer to grandparents is nice when you're getting older. So, and
sure.
they're getting older. So hope maybe we'll head back there at some point.
So there's two editions of the book. As far as ID, there's a European Italian version and then an English release. I mean, other than the write-ups, is that pretty much the translation of the language? Is that the only real difference in between
No,
them?
there were 4 extra photographs in the English
Oh, okay.
version. I had done the Italian one first. I'd gotten interest from Rizzoli in Italy, and they did the first book, and I hadn't gotten a few people that I wanted to grab for the second one. And also
Gotcha.
when the English publisher ACC Art Books came on board, they wanted a few more females in the book, because it was a lot of there was a lot of men in there. So
Sure.
so I did shoot like actually 3 extra women and one extra guy.
Okay.
So that's in the English version, and then there's going to be a French edition too,
Oh, there
hopefully,
we go. Okay.
which will be similar to the English one. There won't be any extra photos.
Oh, very good. And on that note, like, I mean, some of the photos, and not because they're celebrities, but they have recognizable faces. I can think of off the top of my head the Nick Mason one. Really, oh, that's Nick Mason. Whereas you really, and in the same breath, you have to really look at which one to figure out, or at least I did, to figure out. Oh, and it's not a puzzle, but where's Sting in this mix, right? As opposed to some of them
Yeah.
are pretty obvious who they are, right? Did you find that as well? That
Yeah, well,
some
I actually love
translate?
doing this. I love doing the guess who's game, like,
Yeah.
which I've done with some people. It's fun. It's like, I had a couple of gallery shows recently, and everyone would walk in going, oh, and they do that, who do you think is that one? Who do you think is that one? And then some of them I think are very obvious, and some of them I think you can't tell at all. So yes, both, it's both, right? There's a good mix of, oh, that's because Annie Lennox, I think, looks very much like her. There's a few people that look very much, and then obviously there's a couple with a fuller face in it, so you can tell.
Yeah, Mr. Branson, I would imagine.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, it's sort of, I wanted to change it up with all of them when I was taking the photograph. It was really in the moment when I chose how I would frame and what I would shoot. I would test it out before and have an idea going in, and then
Right.
Just throw it out the window and do what came.
So, and did you, again, this is for the people that have their photos taken a lot, and these guys, I know that most of these people are well rehearsed and versed in this, but did you have anywhere, okay, look, we're just not, they're not hitting, right? You're blinking, or we're not getting what we're looking for. Did you have to, even though there are 20 minutes, there's a difference between shooting 3 photos over those 20 minutes and shooting 100. Did you have to shoot a few for some of them, or was it pretty snap?
It was very fast just because of
Yeah.
time limits. So I really shot. I didn't shoot that many photographs for anyone really. But there were a couple of people I thought, oh no, I'm not getting anything here. I'm not getting anything here. And then you sort of have to relax into the moment and be like, well, maybe that getting nothing is the photograph,
Sure.
And so that then you go with that, and then that was the, I think with James Maynard Keenan, I think he was one person like that he was very he was in the middle of a book tour, and so he wasn't concentrating, and it was sort of, obviously his mind was on that. Yeah. When I shot him, I kind of gave him a bit of direction, but it felt very closed off, and that there was nothing, he wasn't giving me anything. And so I thought,
okay,
it's hard, like, how am I going to do this? And then I just went with it, and sort of, had him hiding half his eye, and it felt like it, and it kind of, I think worked for the moment. But yeah, there were a couple of people like that, but most people were, very engaged.
So did you catch Maynard on the road with one of the bands, or did you catch him at home on the vineyard?
He was on the road. He was on a book tour, so it was
Okay.
actually in New York. He was in New York, up in the Upper East Side somewhere doing a book signing and talk.
Too good. He came to you then.
You sorry?
He came to you then in that case, right? You're just
Well, yes, sort of. Yes.
No, very good. Well, no, one other question. I mean, it's one thing that you have a book, and then there's that worldwide and I guess online now reaction to the book. How has the reaction been when you do have the photos up in a gallery, so to speak, and there is that? Well, you got a show, you've got an installation. How's that been as far as the photos going down? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's been great because for me at least, especially too, to see them on the wall too, because when you look at them in the book, I always imagine them when I first started the project and when I wanted to shoot as big prints on the wall. And actually, originally, what I wanted to do was have big boxes on still, so you could kind of look through a window, a tiny hole, and then see this eye looking back at you, this big eye looking back at you. And that was my original idea, which I still love. At some point, I ended up not being able to afford to do it, but I would love to at some point. But just seeing them bigger on the walls is for me, it feels a lot stronger. So I think the response I've gotten has been great. So yeah, it's
well,
nice.
It never occurred to me to ask you other than just now, because I think I've seen some photos of them on the walls. Are some of those the prints? Are those for sale?
They're for sale on my website.
Awesome.
So anyone can kind of reach out to me and see if they, if there's one that they specifically want. And I'm going to do hopefully another show in London we're looking at the end of March. So that will be probably the final show and book signing.
There we go. Excellent. Well, no, not a bad place to end it. Thank you very much for taking time on the other side of at least North America today. And we'll put all the links and everything in the comments. And don't forget to check out ID and check out some of the other work by Anna Gabriel as well.
Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
Yes, you too. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.